Test, test, test.
Okay. Sorry, that one, it's working. Test.
Test, 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 test.
Are they?
Yeah, I think. Yeah, I hear me. Which one?
Hello? Hello? Terrific. The mic is working. Thank you very much for being with us. This is a full room. Dear friends, dear founders, innovators, change makers, today we're kicking off something special, the new WISE EdTech Accelerator, a program built for bold ideas, ambitious founders, and real impact in education. For years, WISE has been at the forefront of rethinking education, and now we are doubling down. This accelerator isn't just about funding or mentorship. It's about unlocking the full potential of the best edtech startups around the world. It's about helping them scale, connect, and make a real difference in how people learn. This year, we're launching 2 tracks. A Qatar track, which essentially we will work hand in hand with global startups interested in establishing their offices in Qatar, and we will work with them with key players. First of all, with the one that we're hosting the event here with QRDI, and thank you once again to the QRDI teams, but also with QDB, with QFC and QFFD, and many other stakeholders and VC established in Qatar. The second track is a global track, which is essentially a continuation of the main accelerator program. And we offer world-class support and up to $50,000 in resources for early stage startups making waves in education. But this is not just about WISE. This is part of a bigger program. Essentially, as you have heard yesterday from His Excellency the Prime Minister and the Foreign Minister of Qatar at the opening ceremony of the Web Summit, Qatar is on its way to becoming the premium regional hub for startup. The country is indeed investing in what we call the funds of funds, the 1 billion. Just and that 1 billion is going to attract a lot of VC, and we want to be part of it. And we made it our mission. The CEO of WISE had made it his mission. The team have made it its mission to work with the VC to make sure to invest in education technology, especially the one that is going to operate in Qatar. So if you're a founder with an idea that can reshape education, this is your moment. If you are an investor, a mentor, or just someone passionate about education, let's connect and make this happen. The WISE team is here. We would love to see you. We would love to talk to you later, and we would love you to disseminate the announcement of the Education Technology New Accelerator. And now we're going to move to the Director of Program, Aurelio, who's going to moderate a session with 3 amazing individuals who are part of the WISE community. 2 of them are part of the accelerator, and 1 of them is part of the WISE Prize program. And Aurelio will tell you more. Thank you, and thank you for being here with us.
Thank you, Liat. Thank you. Please join me, Fahad, Nisreen, Ali. Welcome. Welcome, everyone. and this is the QR code for anyone interested in applying for the accelerator. So welcome. It's very nice to have you with us today and to have all WISE programs represented in one stage. That's very exciting. So I would just like to start by giving everyone a brief overview of our work at WISE and our programs. So WISE, for those who don't know, is an initiative of Qatar Foundation, a platform that spotlights, showcases, identifies, supports, and give visibility to innovative ideas in education. And we do that through our global summit that we run every 2 years, research initiatives that we do in collaboration with other think tanks and academia, and our flagship programs. So if we can go to the next slide, please. I'll just give you guys a very brief overview. We have one initiative called the WISE Prize for Education that supports 6 finalists to work over the period of 1 year on brand new solutions that are linked to their existing work. The EdTech Accelerator, apply now, that supports EdTech startups specifically, and helping them mature, attract investment, and gain more access to markets. And a third initiative that is a hybrid between research and programs, the test beds that connect innovators with schools in Qatar that are willing to pilot innovation and collect data and generate evidence for policy making for the community. So that's our work in a nutshell. And I would like to welcome you and have you, Ali, Fahad, Nisreen, share a bit about yourselves, and if you could summarize your journey, the journey of your organization, and explain how they position themselves in the Middle East. That would be a great way of also introducing yourselves. So let me start by you, Nisreen.
Thank you, Aurelio, and very happy to be here. So my name is Nisreen Makkouk. I'm the co-founder of Kamkalima. Kamkalima was born to support schools in the teaching and learning of Arabic, which was a problem not just in Qatar or in Lebanon, where I come from, but a problem that we see across the region. So within the accelerator, we were the COVID generation. So probably the earliest here, and yet COVID did not stop the program from continuing. And then beyond the accelerator, the test bed was a wonderful opportunity, which I will talk a bit more about later. So as Kamkalima, the founding team originally hails from an education background. So we were very aware of this problem. We had already spent over 20 years in the classroom when we identified that there was this need to make the teaching and learning of Arabic more engaging and more effective in the K-12 space. And since we started until today, we now serve over 100 schools across the region in over 10 countries. I think the aspiration was to be able to create something that was not bound to a geography, to create something that was curriculum agnostic, very different from what we saw at that time, where you start from a national curriculum, digitize it, and that's your product. Because the problem was so regional, we were very keen to create a solution that was also regional. And I think our relationship and engagement with WISE helped us to achieve just that. I'll stop there and maybe get into a bit more of the details later.
Thank you so much, Nisreen. Fahad. Maybe the other mic, if that you can pass it on.
I'll
Thank-
lend you my mic.
Thank you. I'll give it back. I promise. I think it's working now, huh? It's working. Okay.
Okay, it's back.
So thank you. Hi everyone. Assalamu alaikum. My name is Fahad Al-Nimari. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Yenmo. Before I tell you a bit about Yenmo, let me just tell you a bit about the problem that we're trying to solve, or we're already solving. One in each 6 children has a developmental disability. This can be autism, ADHD, learning disability, developmental language disorder. And the cost of these languages, of these developmental disability for a lifetime, it's an range between 3 to 4 million US dollar. And in so many places in the world, including the region, nearly 90% of children with disability are not identified before the age of 6 and 5.5 years old. And as a result, nearly 90% of children with disability do not get access to education. Yenmo is changing this. So at Yenmo, we are developing a set of solutions. The first one that we started with is Yenmo School. It's an AI-powered platform that helps teachers, therapists that work with students with disability to identify learning priorities, as well as to support them, help those students, and help them how to support these students to get to access education. And we've been working with a number of governmental entities here in the region, and also now we have in one of our platform Yenmo School more than 20,000 learner with disability. And as we expanded, we developed another product, which is Yenmo Tifli, which is an app that helps family to identify early on whether their children are developing at a timely manner or not. And right now we're working on a different initiative, but one of them is an initiative that we recently launched during LEAP, where we're aiming to screen nearly 500,000 children in Saudi Arabia, trying to identify if they have a disability or not, and then linking them with service provider. As a part of why I think Yenmo position is leading provider for digital solutions, and definitely we're leveraging AI-driven screening and intervention. We're also working with governmental institutions, and so Yenmo continues to evolve, and it's of course driven by its mission to making early screening, early intervention, and also special education affordable, accessible, and also evidence-based across the region and hopefully across the world.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Please. Hi everyone, my name is Abdurazak Ali. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Barnacle. Barnacle is a Braille edutainment platform. To tell you more about it, I would start with how it started, how was it born. It started off with an accident, a car accident that I had myself, and I broke my right hand. I had to join the special needs center at the university to go through the semester. So I would get some volunteers, people who would write for me because my hands are just not functional for a good semester. It was only then where I met a blind person in my life. That's the first time in my life where I see a blind person. And it was quite shocking. You'd ask yourself, like, why don't you're in the same university, and actually you're taking the English class with me, yet I've never seen you in the classroom. You never come over. And then basically they try to explain the struggle they go through. They're like, for me to read or write, I need this keyboard kind of device that looks like a keyboard. One, it's very expensive. They don't provide one for every student because they're not affordable. Two, they're not portable. Three, even if I take it over, it's just Braille. I can access the text, but my colleagues, my teachers, my friends, they cannot read what I'm reading. I cannot get help. Like, I have a problem with this equation. I cannot ask the teacher to help me over. He cannot read what I'm reading. So you just put in there and like, that's not accessible and not inclusive. That the product designed for them might give them access in a way, but it's not inclusive. It doesn't take in consideration that they're living in a sighted society. Yes, they're blind and we need to have it in Braille, but again, it's not inclusive. We found a lot of problems there. We're like, we have to come up with a solution that's first accessible, gives them access to the content they need, and that's a struggle they face every day. We're complaining about the amount of knowledge we have to study. They're complaining about the amount of effort they need to get access to the content at first place. Two, it has to be portable. Three, it has to be inclusive. So Barnacle is a very portable device that looks like a computer mouse that you can hold in your hand and carry in your pocket. It connects to your iPhone, for example, or any electronic device, and you have access to a library of apps and games that cater different problems. So the very first problem is basically for a blind student. They start off by improving the finger sensitivity, being able to touch the dots and tell how many dots are under my finger. It's a very hard process, and it's very boring for a kid. Again, kids are kids, and the way we educate our kids is basically having engaging games. So what we're developing is games that they play with their friends, whether they're sighted or blind, so they can play arcade games like Subway Surfer or Tic-Tac-Toe with their friends. First, it's engaging. Second, it's motivating. Like we had that tournament, the first inclusive tournament during the World Cup, where everyone was playing PlayStation and Xbox, and then they find out that they were competing with a blind student who just beat them out. And they're like, how did you do that? How do you know what's happening in the game? How are you aware and you're playing the games? And that starts the conversation like, okay, is there English Braille and Arabic Braille or just Braille? How do you read? How do you use Instagram? And that's exactly what we're looking for, integrating them in society, and that's just the first step. Having then apps that would help them learn the alphabet in different languages, in Arabic, in English, in Spanish, on and on. Having the device to basically get access to Excel sheets, to PDFs, something that's very powerful, and the power of it expands, and the main power of Barnacle, it's expandable with the library of apps and games for different use cases. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Thank you so much for introduction. And I would love to maybe use your mic.
Please.
Thank you. Thank you. Maybe we'll share this mic. It's more reliable. So all three of you are linked to the Qatari ecosystem somehow, right? So Ali Bonaco was founded and incubated here in Qatar. Nisreen Konkalema is based in Lebanon, operates across the MENA region, and got closer to schools here in Qatar through the testbed program. And Fahad Diemo is based in Saudi. But since you joined the accelerator program, being closer to the Qatari market was something that you already demonstrated interest in, right? So I would like to ask you guys.
Like we're part of, we're also Saudi and Qatari company. We're we're one of the portfolio company for QDB, Qatar Development Bank.
No, exactly. So that was.
Say we're also a Qatari company.
Sorry, back then before the application was Saudi only, and now it's Saudi Qatari company. Yeah, thank you for that. But I would like to ask you guys if you could share some insights of the value of being part of this ecosystem, right? So again, I'll go to you first, Nisreen. If you can touch on learnings from your work with schools here in Qatar, specifically on data collection, data protection, learnings on capacity building for teachers and schools, and challenges and opportunities on operations at large.
Super. You can keep we got an extra mic. So, as I said, at conception, Kam Kalima aspired to be a regional product, which means that since we're not digitizing a national curriculum, there needs to be a localization effort, but that looks different. The way to arrive at that requires being embedded in the community of users, having communication and feedback loops that are continuous. And these are some of the things that we were able to achieve through the test bed and beyond. So if I want to touch on some of the main wins or main learnings from the test bed, I'd like to make a distinction first, and I think it's very relevant when we talk about EdTech. And that is the difference between service delivery and system strengthening. And they're two vastly different fields. Service delivery is very transactional. I built a tool and then you pay for it and use it, and that's it. Whereas system strengthening is a different model that actually looks at a partnership between the service provider and the school, and a commitment to address needs together. And that is the type of dynamic that was nurtured throughout the test bed, and definitely a point of strength. Another thing that I think was very important and very evident in this relationship is the ability to tailor capacity building based on the needs. So we knew that schools needed significant support to make this transition to digital transformation. But was that enough? No, the answer was no. There was actually an emerging need at the level of schools to have someone, which through the project became called the chair of digital learning. We actually needed to create a person who was equipped to make informed decisions about EdTech. This is what we need, and this is how we will use it. So also this is something that through the engagement with WISE, we were able to create that and formulate it, and it was definitely an asset in helping us move forward. And as Kam Kalima, we used that opportunity to actually cement this working relationship and making it more sustainable by establishing teacher advisory boards and student advisory boards from our schools, which are representative bodies that keep this conversation about needs and priorities and challenges going.
Thank you. So over to you, Fahad. If you could share a bit about what in the Qatari market and ecosystem was appealing to you when deciding to also establish a presence here, and if you could compare as well the different challenges and opportunities that you see here vis-a-vis your original home market in Saudi.
Yeah. So let me see. How's it now? Okay. Awesome. So Qatar presents strong markets, for Yanmu due to its government commitment to early early intervention, early screening, and also special education, and also inclusion, and also sustainable investment in AI and digital health. And of course, last but not least, a high per capita child spending on education and healthcare. The country also encouraged like the PPP, the public-private partnership, and also creating opportunity for us as startups to collaborate. Additionally, also Qatar focus on research and innovation. And I think today us being here at the QRDI is a testament for that, which makes it also an ideal for piloting, scaling up new models before even expanding. I think also what makes us leverage all this is the support that we get from you guys, at WISE, which we really appreciate. And currently we have different projects with, I'm not going to say a lot, but few governmental entities here in Qatar, and we're hoping really to take them to the next level. Compared to my home country, Saudi Arabia, I think Qatar also has, it's a different scale, but also like, again, as I mentioned earlier, is a higher per capita investment on early intervention, and also its regulatory environment is more open to tech-driven solution, while Saudi Arabia, its Raj also has more complex but also evolving system, of course, with the vision 2030 in Saudi. Both countries, they're like very similar, and I think the similarity are more compared to the differences, but the fact that they're both also making AI power screening and intervention to support children in general, and also those with disability, accessible, affordable, and also evidence-based.
Thank you so much, Fahad. Do we have in the audience any founders from other countries in the region who would like to have a presence in Qatar, maybe? Or the other way around, founders from Qatar who are thinking of expanding to other countries, in GCC, MENA, or elsewhere? Okay, nice, because we have examples of both cases here. So I'll move to Ali now, because Bonaco, again, as I mentioned, was incubated here in Qatar, but you operate in other countries as well. And I would like to ask you how the players here in the country can contribute somehow, or have contributed already in your journey to expansion elsewhere.
Sure.
If you can touch on that, please. Yeah.
I think one of the main strengths here in Qatar is basically it's very well connected. The country is very well connected. You're still figuring things out as a startup. You will never get it right from the first shot, and you want to validate everything. You want to validate the product readiness. You want to validate the business model. You want to validate how to mainstream the process. And I see Qatar as the perfect test bed. Nisreen just mentioned that. It really helps. Especially with our partners and our investors. When we started focusing on education, and that's exactly our main focus at the moment, reaching out to schools, to ministries, to have pilots, that's usually two people ahead, or basically just two contacts away to reach the contact you're trying to reach. We are getting a lot of traction for different vertices. So for example, could this be an accessible entertainment system on an airplane for a blind person? Like we have the entertainment system in front of us. You can watch movies, you can play games, you can read magazines. Can a blind person get the same using Barnacle? And that's something that, again, we're looking into just planning ahead. We're focusing on education, but that's a different vertic that we could explore. And for us, it's two contacts away to reach someone at Qatar Airways and look at a pilot to actually test that, be prepared, make sure it's working well, our business model, how everything works before expanding outside to different countries. So we'd be more prepared, where Qatar being where you start, the starting point, and then you expand from there.
Thank you so much. I'm seeing that we're almost running out of time. The conversation could keep going for longer. So I'll just ask the three of you again to share some key takeaways, perhaps sharing learnings of your involvement with WISE, with our community, and the people who support our programs as well.
Okay, so key takeaways. I think one of the most compelling components of WISE as a program is that it is focused on EdTech, and that does not exist in the region beyond that. And why is that important? Because when you're working in EdTech, there's a specific lens with which you look at things. I want to talk about impact as one of them. Impact when it comes to learning is very different from impact in another vertical when it's measured by sign-ups or screen time or something else. So I do encourage anyone trying to do something in the EdTech space to place themselves within a community of like-minded people who can encourage and push you to stretch the boundaries of your thinking in a purposeful direction.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. There are a lot, and I would maybe focus on one point. The education industry is very different than any other industry, and maybe the most important part is partnerships. Making a change in the educational system is very hard, and you really have to have the right connections and partnerships. Whether you're doing your solution for the teachers and schools, or you're doing it for the students. Even if you go for students, you still need, they will reach out to the teachers, the parents will reach out to the teachers. They have to praise it, the school, the teacher, they have to praise your solution, they have to recommend it. So the route of having the right partnerships with schools, with educators, is something essential in that industry. And I think that's the main strengths that you would get out of WISE as an EdTech accelerator, they really help out here. They really help you make connections. They really help having the right pilots. You do have the credibility of, you can just capitalize on their credibility to actually validate your solution as you go. I think that would be the most important point, and just we're running out of time, so I'd cut it here.
I'll jump. So really being part of WISE helped us a lot in ENMO. I'll give you an example. First of all, scaling up with purpose. The program also provided us with so many opportunity to network and also to get some guidance on how even to refine our strategy, and also like for networking and partnership. I do remember like, you know, Elias and the people in your team like also trying to help, also linking us with people here with the Ministry of Education and many other opportunity, also linking us with investor. So the program is definitely was a great one for us, and it helped us a lot, and we will not let you go. We will stay there and keep sending you email, and you hope you're okay with that.
Thank you all. Thank you all so much. I think if we can just close a session, going back to the slides where we have our QR codes, because as I heard in the audience, there are startup founders here who are based here or are interested in coming to Qatar. Please do apply for our accelerator program. And I would like to thank QRDI for hosting us here today. And I would like to invite everyone who is here in the audience to join us later again at 3 p.m. at the QDB Pavilion, where our CEO Stavros will be also speaking. So that will be in an hour or so. There's time for people to get some food, some coffee. And please look forward to welcoming you there. And I'll pass it on to Elias again.
So now we heard about the experience of founders who've been part of the accelerator. Next, at 3 p.m., we will deep dive into how the local partnership is going to work. So please be there, and we're going to interview also some founders that are going to apply to the accelerator. We are waiting for you there. All right? Enjoy your afternoon, and thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you.
like to use a handheld mic or?
You know, it doesn't matter to me, and because we're only three, it's maybe easy to pass.
No,
It
no,
doesn't
no.
matter.
We have plenty of mics. Don't worry.
Oh, mics are fine. It's up to you. Up to you guys.
No, we have. عايزة أكتر handheld؟
So I have to run because I have an MOU.
Keep this with you.
Okay, so let me call her. She said she was nearby, right? Hey, Maddie, how are you?
Test. Test.
How are you?
Check, check. Check. Check, check,
خلي بعد دول معاك خلاص مش عايزين.
check.
Alright, just to know. Are you nearby? Oh, okay.
Hello. Hello. Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. Hello. Hello. Okay, I think we'll get started. Thank you all for being with us here today. We're going to talk a bit about the ins and outs of the VC founder partnership in fueling growth. My name is Hind Ashrafzaki, and I lead international partnerships and some of the programs at QRDI Council. So, with no further ado, I'd like to introduce the panelists that we have here today. First, Dr. Saira Siddiqui is the CEO and founder of MedIQ, a health tech startup which, after achieving profitability in Pakistan, successfully expanded to Saudi in 2023. Dr. Saira is a medical graduate with a Master in Public Health and a PhD in Health Economics from the UK. She has more than 2 decades of work experience in public and private healthcare sector management and insurance across 5 different countries. Welcome, Dr. Saira. Alex Weidmer has 25 years of experience in venture capital in the MENA region, Europe, and North America. He is a founder and co-managing partner of Ras Mal Ventures, the first Qatari VC company. Before Ras Mal, he advised QDB, managed STV Ventures, one of the first VC funds in the region, and was a longtime partner of a brand name European VC, Iris Capital. Welcome. Okay, so we're going to have a session here, and then we'll open it up for questions, Q&A at the end. But first, Dr. Saira, my understanding is you were the first solo female founder of a Pakistani startup to have raised $1.8 million in pre-seed funding. Congratulations on that achievement. It's pretty fantastic. Can you tell us a bit more about MedIQ? How did you start out? How have you grown the business recently?
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me here and giving me this opportunity. So yes, I am Pakistan's first solo founder who raised a seed stage funding of 1.8 million. But that's not the part of the full story. Because soon we realized that you don't want to be a part of that rat race where we are announcing the funds and funds and funds. So we have raised twice after that, but we didn't announce our fundraise. Because when you raise funds, it comes with a lot of responsibility as well. And it's just not for the public announcement. So far we have raised 3.4 million US dollars. We started our journey as a hybrid healthcare platform, which is supporting customers from the insurance sectors and the corporate customers. So they can easily switch between online and physical healthcare with the continuum of care. So the record is with us, so irrespective wherever they go, they can access the records, and there's no break in the sort of the service which they are achieving. We also digitize mid-tier hospitals, and we bring them to the mainstream so that they can get customers from the insurance side, and they can also become a part of that whole financing cycle. So in a nutshell, we are a platform which is connecting the 3 important players of healthcare sector, which is like a provider, health service provider, the payers, which are the financing partners, and the patients, so that healthcare is more efficient and accessible for everyone. So that's what we do. And yes, being a solo founder, it was not easy to expand beyond Pakistan, but that's what the startup is about. Startup is all about growth. So for me, startup means growth. So any business who doesn't have the opportunity to scale and to grow at an exponential level is not a startup. And startup need capital to grow. And whatever capital which we have raised actually has gone into the growth of the company. After serving 3.4 million customers in Pakistan, achieving profitability, we expanded in Saudi, and alhamdulillah, we are already having 10% of the market share in the Saudi market. Thank you.
Great. Dr. Saira, just on that, you started by bootstrapping and then moved to seeking VC money. Can you just talk a bit more about why you did that, or when you chose to make that switch exactly?
Well, for me, it was more of a passion rather than, as a startup when I started my journey, because of a personal incident which happened to me. So I was ready to go all the way out to develop a platform which can help people access healthcare in a more affordable way. So I think, and that was also the right approach. if you're not ready to put in your own money, your own skin in the game, this means that you don't own the startup, you don't believe in the idea, you don't think that it will scale up to an extent where the VCs can put in money. So it's always good to have your money put in, have certain traction, have the MVP built, and don't dilute yourself to an extent that by the time you raise your Series A, you're already diluted down to like, only have 10% of the shares. So my first approach was to have my own money come in, then have it from the friends and the family members. And it was such a strong commitment from my side that I put in my daughter's university fee into the platform to expand it to 15 cities in Pakistan. But when there is a will, there is a way. She got the scholarship to a very good university, and I got the reward. So I went for the seed stage funding through VCs when there was a need for a rapid expansion, because as I said, startup is about growth. And if you can't grow, then you're not a startup. So when we need rapid scaling up, we raised our seed stage funding, but we were already having 300,000 customers on the platform. The product was proven, the product market fit was there, and we needed growth capital. So prefer to not to dilute yourself too much and go for other sources of funding. Other than, like for example, there's so many grants available. When I look at the MENA region, I am surprised because there's so many institutions who want the startups to grow. They are giving you, there's so many accelerators here as well in Saudi where I operate. And then there are other ways like, accelerators, incubators, grants, funds. And then if you can get some loan, venture debt, you can't have it at this stage. But if you can get some loans without diluting yourself, that is the first, that is the right way to expand till you have a certain traction so that you can get the right investors who actually help you in growing. So my advice always is to show the people that you are passionate, your product is a good fit, and then raise the VC money.
Hello? Yep, back again. So after product market fit is when you started raising fund, which is very interesting. So Alex, for you, for startups looking to raise capital in this room, in this auditorium, what do you think is the right time for them to do so? What are the key factors they should be considering?
Test. So thank you for having me. Hello, everyone. I mean, I guess being the first female solo founder of a company that raised 1.8 million at seed stage, did I get all that right? I guess that's a pretty good start, in terms of being attractive. So actually, Dr. Sarah said it all. I don't need to add that much, and it's always much more interesting to hear from founders than it is to hear from VCs. The best way for a company to be attractive to VCs, and the best time for them to raise from VCs is actually when they don't need the money. So VCs are a little bit neurotic in some ways, because we want to not be wanted. We want companies that actually don't need us, because these are the companies that we have to fight to get into the deal. And the ones we have to fight to be chosen by such great founders to get into the deal are actually the best deals in the end. And so really, I always say to entrepreneurs, you approach a VC essentially with two plans. You say, here's my plan, here's what I'm going to do anyway. And I'm going to do it with my own money, with maybe some angels, maybe with other forms of financing. And I'm going to do this plan. Now, if you invest, I can do this plan, which is something else, and we can have that discussion. But if you don't want to have that discussion, that's totally okay, because I've got this other plan. And this is the time that VCs get interested in you. And you can do that, to answer your question, you can do that at any stage. So you can do that at super early stage. You can do that at later stages. In fact, a lot of VCs have difficulty with quite early stage of involvement when VCs when companies are still at the, just barely out of research and just starting to productize is not the best time to engage with us. But it's okay to engage with us at that time if you have this idea in your head that, hey, you want to talk to me, that's awesome. You don't want to talk to me, that's totally okay. I'll come back in a year.
Very interesting. And I think you both, I think Dr. Sire, you mentioned leveraging grants and programs that exist in the MENA region. And that's one of the things we have at QRDI Council as well, is programs and grants for startups that might be at that early stage that you mentioned, that are not suitable for VC at that time. Just a quick question on that. In Qatar and in the region, Alex, do you find that startups are approaching you too early, too late? What are you finding in terms of the trend of that, and what would you, advise?
Yeah, and well, you say Qatar and in the region. So, I mean, in some ways, Qatar is kind of playing catch up a little bit. So some of our neighbors had, an earlier start to their innovation ecosystem and to their VC landscapes. And as such, I guess are a little bit more developed, and also in terms of numbers have more investors on the ground to invest at all stages. But then Qatar, I mean, the advantage of playing catch up, of being a little bit after the others, is that you can learn from the others, and the learning curve is a lot shorter. So actually, the catch up that Qatar has played over the last couple of years has really been astounding. Astoundingly good. And so, but then, I mean, blending Qatar with the region and considering that they are one innovation ecosystem. The answer to your question is no, not too early, not too late. I think the good VCs are all fairly generalist. They're all able to look at stuff earlier and to look at stuff later. It really is more a matter of the company having the right metrics, being fundamentally attractive to them, playing in a market that is, attractive with a defensible product, and even an early stage company, will find financing. We'll look at anything. We'll look at anything.
Okay. Back. Yeah, go ahead.
No. What VC jokes?
But you always hear one thing from the VCs: show me the money. Yeah. So this means there's definitely some sort of a bias that where is the money? Either you are currently making money, or you have the market is so big, or the potential is so huge that you will be soon making huge money for the investor.
Yeah, forgive me. It's not a money issue, right? So show me the money is a phrase that is known from films and so forth, but it's actually value, right? So we're into value, and so to show value, you can actually do that at any stage.
Just pulling your leg. Yeah, nothing more.
Yeah, it worked.
Okay, so on that, about show me the money, I think the question to you, sir, is what are you actually looking for from VCs other than money? And other than the capital infusion, what are you looking for from these VCs that you're talking to now that you've raised over $3 million?
So, I come from a different sector. I come from healthcare and insurtech sector, which requires a lot of subject matter expertise. And it's not everyone's, cup of tea. So you see a lot of general investors who would be interested in fintech, they would be interested in logistics and everything. But when you talk about health tech, they would be slightly skeptical. When I look for an investor, or what I look for in an investor is actually someone who has a knowledge of that sector, who brings in some expertise from that sector and is not shy away of taking difficult decisions. And at the same time, they're ready to be on the ground with me. Like, roll the sleeves up, all hands on the deck, and let's do it together. So it's just not money. So that's the reason we have been very selective in choosing the investors who work with us, because money for the sake of money is not what health tech requires, what insurtech requires. And I'm also a very strong believer that we don't need a United Nations of investors on your cap table. To be honest, someone coming in with $200,000, someone coming in with $500,000, no. Have those investors who not only bring value, but also are strategic investors in terms of on the follow-up rounds as well, and having a significant stake in the company, so that when the company is in a difficult stage, we all go through ups and downs, they can take the ownership. They can say, okay, let me take you out of this situation based on the experience which I have. So for me, number one, someone having experience in health tech, insurtech. Secondly, who is ready to roll up the sleeves and work with me, be a part of the team. And thirdly, who is with me for a long time and who's ready to follow on the next rounds.
Awesome. I'm just going to move swiftly on as well, just so we make use of the time. So the same question to you, Alex. What are you looking for in founders? Because there's a lot of founders out there. There's a lot of startups out there. I think it's becoming very trendy to go into entrepreneurship. What are you looking for particularly in the founder?
Yeah. So I guess, it really is something of a marriage, VC investment at the end of the day. I mean, this is what one has to keep in mind. I mean, when I started in this business, I have so many friends who became investment bankers. And so I was watching them work on projects. They were all out for 3 months, and then they would do the transaction, walk away with a really nice commission, which I envied them for. But then they were done, and they would move on to the next project. And I had barely gone through my first due diligence of my first investment during that time that they had already done a couple of deals. So, VC is a marathon. It's a long-term kind of commitment that we make, to the companies that we invest in, and that then we also, expect the founders to make vis-a-vis us. And so one has to play this, let's say that this game where one knows that it's going to be a long-term relationship. We have to understand each other. Not everybody can work together necessarily well. There are different personality types, as we all know, and sometimes we only discover this after the first deal. So one has to put in the goodwill and the hard work to really work together and to be aligned. This is what's really crucial for the relationship to work properly. Now, I would say that there's one or two really critical things that we expect of all our founders. And so one is realism. So the founder has to, they know, she knows her sector better than I ever will. And so if Dr. Sarah says, well, we're going to do X in this market next year because of this reason, and these are the assumptions and so forth, and it's a well-built plan, I need this to be realistic. It may not be accurate. A plan never happens the way you expect. It can be a little bit under, it can sometimes be a little bit over, which is really a nice surprise. But that kind of realism is super important. And I guess putting the means behind realizing your plan is number two. If you put a budget out there, you put a number out there saying our company, is going to do this next year, then really actually that has to be met. And this is super important for founder credibility, for the way we interact with them, for the entire future that we're going to have with this company. I would say these would be our top expectations.
So a question to both of you then. You talked about the interests need to be aligned for both. Where are the most common points of friction that occur between VCs and founders? And what's your advice to overcome these points of friction?
You'd like me to answer that first? Yes. Yeah. So, well, I mean, I guess one comes to mind. It's interesting because I had a small gap in my VC practice in the last few years. I was somehow between two funds, and I was working more closely with entrepreneurs. And entrepreneurs in the region were coming to me and saying, "Hey, I just got this financing offer. What do you think about it?" Then I would read it from the other side, from the founder's point of view. And I'd be like, wow, this is, investors are asking you to sign up to this. And so VCs can be, pretty harsh sometimes, and one realizes it when one looks at it from the other side. So I guess in my background, I've done about 60 VC deals in my life. Probably the exit is the most contentious point in the relationship that we can have with founders. So this is something that usually has to be evacuated from the very beginning. We have to be aligned that some kind of a liquidity event can happen, in a reasonable horizon. And this is something that upfront, when we invest, we must know that the founder is committed to this. But
so
then,
there's
of
a
course,
discussion about exit strategy in
Yeah.
those initial discussions.
yeah,
Okay.
no, absolutely. It must be set in advance that this is an expectation. We're all pulling, in this direction. I would say that that's the main one. Otherwise, everything else can be worked out by reasonable people.
I think, the alignment between an investor and a founder is a win-win situation because one wins, the other wins as well. But sometimes, as Alex very rightly said, many startups, when a startup idea is conceived, it should come also with an exit strategy because a startup without the exit strategy is not going to grow the way it has to grow, nor it's not an ordinary business. You're not going to send it to your next generation. So any startup without an exit strategy for me is not a startup. How do you exit can vary. It depends during your journey, what sort of options do come. Do you want to exit partially? Do you want to be acquired? Do you want to have an IPO? That's another strategy. So, as Alex mentioned, when you look at the term sheets, the points which need discussion are actually the board composition and the liquidation clauses. So it's very important to look at those clauses because sometimes, when you are so excited about the money raised that you simply forget about the composition of the board and how the voting rights are going to be exerted. That for me is a key thing because I don't want that, I want the money. I want the money to be used in the best possible way. So I do need someone to be keeping an eye on me and see where the direction which I'm taking. It's important to have a board, but the composition of the board should be in such a way that no one is able to be a dictator in that board. So this is one thing which is very important. Just don't look at the term sheet, look at the board composition. And secondly, look at the liquidation clause as well. And exit, yes, I think most of the time it's the exit which is the point of contention between the two parties, the investor and the founder.
Okay, so exit strategy, board composition, very clear points. So I think we have 5 minutes left for the session, and I would love to open it up for questions from the audience, if anyone has any questions. Any questions? Okay, there, I think we have someone there.
Hi, thank you very much for the talk today. My name is Nadia Al-Khater. I'm a local co-founder of a startup. And I have a question actually for you, Alexander. So coming into 2025, I just want to say congratulations to Rasmul Ventures. I know there was some good news late last year, or actually early this year. How do you see the Qatar ecosystem these days in terms of the startup, the funds? Because for our startup, we have strong interest from Saudi, we have participation from Saudi, but I'm not yet sure, I guess seeing as this is really day one of Web Summit, how ready Qatar is to invest. So I'll leave that to you and keep it a bit open.
So thank you very much for this question. So you must look beyond Qatar. It's actually not an option. Even if you had all the financing options that you wanted in Qatar, which is not the case today because there aren't enough investors on the ground in Qatar today, you should still look outside because your job as an entrepreneur is to find the best possible deal that you can and the best investor that you can get to help fuel your company. I'm sorry if I'm not answering your question very directly. I think the fact that you The fact that you're having maybe a harder time to find financing sources in Qatar because of what I said earlier, that we're a little bit playing catch up, is actually a good thing, because it's forcing you to go and look beyond and to search for that best possible partner. That said, I'm really, really optimistic about everything that's happening in Qatar. So I came here 5 years ago. There was really not much going on in terms of the innovation ecosystem. There was a lot of research and jobs being done excellently on the research side, but less on the startup side and on the financing side. And now things, you feel it even in this Web Summit, that things are really moving in the right direction, with more VCs coming to Qatar that are hungry to look at really innovative startups in Qatar. So I'm extremely positive about the future for you, but in any case, look everywhere you can for financing.
Thank you for that, Alex. Any other questions? Okay. Yes, I think.
Hello. Thank you. That was a very insightful discussion. My name is Archana Shetty. My question is to Dr. Saira. How did you manage, because healthcare is a very regulated sector, so how did you manage going through the regulations and also managing the health records, because again you have to comply with the bodies?
See, when you develop a product, you develop the product from a view that it should go global. So the mistake which most of the startups in health sector do is that they develop for a particular market and only follow the regulations of that market. When we were developing our tech stack, we looked at markets like the US market. We had investors from there who also guided us. So we already had for HIPAA compliance, we had high trust compliance, we had ISO 27001 compliance in place before we left Pakistan to expand in other markets. So if you are already following global guidelines, then your tech being approved by regulatory bodies like in Saudi, which takes ages to do that, we got approval in 3 months. Reason being that they were actually following the US guidelines, which we already implemented. So we are already compliant with the US guidelines. So always develop a product which can scale, so that small little things like regulatory hiccups which can come can easily be overcome. So act locally and develop globally is always what I say. And for health tech, it's important because patient privacy, patient records, financing data, everything is very, very regulated. But then develop from a global perspective and then act locally. That's what how we did.
Okay. Okay, with that, I think we have, one last question, and then we will close because we have a hard stop. You have a hard stop as well, right, don't you? One more question? Okay, one more question, and then we're going to wind
Yes, I
down.
think this question to Mr. Alexander. I'm just wondering, in markets like in the region, there's not much of liquidity and exit. How do you foresee the fund would exit? Is it the normal mergers, acquisitions, or IPOs, or do you see alternatives, other alternatives that are more fit to the local culture, local finances?
Well, it's true that compared to other regions, that there's a lot of opportunity here, a lot of innovation, a lot of companies being formed, and therefore investment opportunities. It's true that exits are lagging, and this is actually causing problems down the entire value chain because investors, even in our own funds, in VC funds, they want to see exits before they finance next funds. And if we don't have money, then we can't invest in startups. So it's quite correct that this region is lagging in terms of exits. So that said, the exit market is much, much better now than it was 5 years ago. It's only getting better because of some capital market initiatives in the region. And so I'm extremely positive that now is the right time to do VC in the region. And I think there will be, those exit opportunities, they will come. Foreign companies are more and more comfortable with the thought of buying a Middle Eastern company. Capital markets are opening and so forth. So I think in my history, the deals where have been sold to financial investors, have been okay but not the best performing. So to answer your question, no, I don't think we should turn to those. At some point you seek liquidity, so you search any opportunity that you can, but those are not the best. We have to make sure that there's M&A or there's capital markets. And I think they're there.
Okay, unfortunately, we are out of time today. Thank you all for being with us, and a warm thank you to our panelists for their wonderful insights today. Thank you.
Thank you, Hind.
Thank you for having us here.